Hello to you. My name is Jesse R. Johnson. This is the Supreme Being. As smoke and sparks arise from a lighted fire, Supreme Being, divine, have breathed, so to speak, forth from the eternal itself all knowledge and all true wisdom. Life in the world and life in the spirit are not incompatible. Work and action isn't contrary to knowledge of non-God, supreme divine. When work and actions are performed without inner attachment and inner clinging attitudes to any and all things and matters, it is a means to true realize the transcendental, supreme divine. You are that already, but do not realize it or know it. This is what death is, and virtually every single human on earth is of the real moving dead. Renunciation is renunciation of the ego, the false sense of a separate personal self, and of negative selfishness. Never renunciation of life, but the removal of inner clinging to any and all things. Non-inner attachment to work and renunciation is to know supreme self-existing, supreme self within, and transcendental supreme divine without. The supreme divine is all of all of all. In the core of the heart, no, not the physical heart, of every and all living things is the transcendental supreme divine. And that alone is ultimate reality. Renouncing all inner attachments and all clinging and inner holding of all vain attachments is to open the clenched fist, or one's closed heart. For a closed fist, a closed heart, which is the ego, knows nothing and can never know. For only he or she alone with open heart can know. Humans of the hundreds of millions, each one are worlds without suns, covered in blinding darkness. To these people, after physical death, go into the abyss, ignorant of the living light, slayers and covering up of the supreme self-divine, not the ego self. The supreme self is one, unmoving. It moves swifter than all things. The 18 senses cannot overtake it or keep up. Always it goes before. Remaining still, it outstrips all that moves. All words of all languages and all communications that has ever been, is now, and shall be, cannot reach, analyze, or describe the supreme divine. Ineffable and non-speakable and unspeakable to true infinity is the supreme divine. Without non-God supreme divine, there is no reality and no actuality, no life. Reality can be without actuality. Actuality cannot be without reality. To the ignorant, it is the supreme self appears to move, yet it moves not. From the ignorant, it is far distant, yet it is nearer than the nose on one's face. It is within all, and it is without all. Whomever knows all beings, things, and non-things in the supreme self-divine, and the supreme divine in all beings, things, and non-things, knows all. To the illuminated, supreme divine is all. There can be no aloneness, delusion, or misery, or grief. Supreme Self is everywhere. All things is true, omnipresent, true, omniscience. Omni outshining bright, where all and every and all is outshined. True perfect, true absolute, true finite and finiteless, infinitum, infinitesimality, true infinity. Containing all good, all evil, all in all, where not even nothing and non-existence is excluded. Yet transcending all and untouched, the ultimate one that is beyond all, self-existent, self-being, has established order and has established actuality of objects, things, non-things, processes, all beings, living and non-living, from beginningless and endless, transcending time and transcending space. To blinding darkness are they doomed who devote themselves to materialist life in the world alone. Immortality and the deathless can only be known by meditating until the quilt blanket of darkness dissolves and true supreme self, non-God, transcendental supreme being, divine, is revealed. It is the only form of true immortality, deathless, utter without ego self. To darkness are they doomed who worship only the body, who think that all they are is a body and no more, separate from all. The face of truth is 10 to the septillionth power and more, brighter than the sun, and is the fountain of all life, of all living water for all life. For that I am, and I am that. No one, not one or more, and not zero. For ashes and dust are the body's end. The actuality of nature, including humanity, in essence, is the supreme divine. To realize this truth is to be true, immortal. The supreme self is the eye of the eye, the ear of the ear, the breath of the breath, the heart of the heart, the core of the core. Give up the false identification of ego. The true self divine, the supreme self divine, cannot be expressed with or in any language of signs or words. For the mind cannot reach. It cannot be worshipped. It can only be realized. Thought, thinking, feeling, emotion, senses cannot reach. When you say you sense an object, what happens is that your senses have reacted to a stimulus from an external to sense source, external to your total body apparatus. What your 18 senses picks up and your mental and nervous system interprets is info in your consciousness. This interpretation of sound, sight, vibrations, taste, or touch, etc., is construed as objects or events, extended in duration, distance, and space. All manifestation depends on the two medias of time and space. For time and space are constructs of reference, They do not exist in and of itself. In the absence of time and space, no manifestation for these super complex body energy systems can be possible in consciousness. All existence for our systems is a continuous process of objectifying. We only exist as one another's objects, including our own bodies, and only in the personal consciousness that cognizes us. When objectification ceases and stops, the objective universe disappears for our system. So long as one imagines oneself as a separate entity, a separate person, an individual apart from the whole universe and independent, one cannot ever determine the total picture of the ultimate impersonal reality. The idea of a separate person and separate personality apart from the whole is due to the constructed illusion of taking space and time as real, which by themselves have no independent real existence, for they are only reference instrument mental tools of our systems, a media to make manifestation cognizable. One thought or one perception is reflected in consciousness at a time, but thought, feelings, and perceptions move in succession, giving the illusion of duration, similar to a film in a projector at 24 frames a second, given the illusion of motion on the screen. Then complex personality comes around because of massive information stored in memory, identifying the flux nuance present, which seems to be a linear passing present lasting 1 to 2 seconds before vanishing, connected to a past and projected into a future from information stored in memory. Think of yourself as momentary, without a past, a present flux nuance, or a future. Then where is a person, a separate person from the whole, a separate individual, a separate personality? Try this and find out. Then where is separate independent entity? No thing, entity, process, or object has true independence. Nothing. Everything is integrally one with the whole. Memory is filled with information from all 18 of our senses, constructed to seem as though it is a mental state under observation. In actuality, primarily, it is a seeming feeling without limitation in any form of being awake, not regular awake, like waking up in the morning from bed, rather awake and present without flux nuance. Here, now, without time or space, knowing their reference structure and that they're not real things but mental tools, yet being able to use them as before. All any living thing can say without words, without thoughts, without thinking, feelings, emotions, is, I am, meaning what is. The moment the thought of I or me, or the idea as a separate person, there is bondage. There is relentless, suffocating misery. When you apperceive this, all your search and seeking is over. You see the false as false. I want to thank every single one for listening and watching. Share this video, subscribe, and have a good, pleasant, and healthy day.